Still waiting on Mr. Burrow.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Oh,
Okay.
see you too. See you too.
My mic was off. I'm sorry. I said I'm ready to go. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, then. All right. I'll call this meeting to order. And roll call is, looks like it's 5-0, which is great. All right. First thing is superintendent's comments. Mr. Burrow, I'll just let you take a hold of it.
I have a few things on here today for you. First off, on our Thursday agenda, you'll see approve of audit. Today we have Miss Teresa Jones from Alfred, Nance, Jones, and Oakley to give us an audit report, a synopsis and summary of it. Miss Jones, are you on here?
Yes, I believe I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Yes.
hear you.
All right, good. Well, I just want to say, good afternoon and thank you for allowing my firm to perform the district's audit again. I plan to just hit a few highlights, but you can ask me questions anytime. I believe all of you have a copy of the audit report, and I'll just refer to a few pages. But the district continues to maintain a solvent financial condition, and you've been able to withstand financial pressures of both the current COVID-19 crisis, as well as numerous unfunded state mandates. I'm happy to report that the audit went well, as well as possible, during all this this different year. But the school district can be, the accounting can be challenging, in a normal year. But then throw in all these other issues, it creates a whole set of problems. But Mr. Stokes and everyone we worked with did a great job in accumulating the information, and we were able to perform the audit, and I sincerely appreciate the cooperation from everyone. So if you just look at page 1, that is our report, and our opinion is at the bottom of page 1. And I'm happy to say it is again, what we like to call a clean, unmodified opinion. So in that bottom paragraph, just the short of it, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the district. That's summarizing that paragraph, and that is your clean, unmodified opinion, and that's what you want. So again, congratulations on a job well done in the district. As required, Mr. Stokes had prepared the management discussion and analysis, and that's on pages 3 through 7. I always encourage you to read those. He has good comments. It's a good summary of the report, and it has some comparisons with prior year. I like to focus on comparative information, but this year that's pretty different. As y'all are aware, it's a lot of things you're looking at apples and oranges when we try to compare to last year. But well, if you want to turn to page 8. This is the statement of position, and this is just a picture. This is everything that the district owns and everything that it owes, all the liabilities. The current assets have increased $30,000 from last year. So those are assets that, that by definition that are available to pay current bills. So the current assets went up $30,000, but the current liabilities also went up by $54,000. So the bills that you owe in the short term are more than the assets that you had to fund those in the short term. But then also the total assets are down, but the total liabilities are down also by a bigger amount. So by the time we factored in the deferred outflows and deferred inflows and net pension liability, all this, you have the district overall has a decrease to net position of $340,000. Your net position, if you see on the bottom, on your last column, the net position is a negative $713,937. That's on your far right column at the bottom. So you have a negative net position. But that number would be positive if we did not have to report the net pension obligation or the OPEB, the other post-employment benefit obligations. So, I said you are still solvent. You have a good financial condition, despite so many different things that have been going on. So page 8 reflects all of the assets and all the liabilities and deferred inflows, outflows, all that. Let's just look at page 10. Yes, sir.
When you're talking about all those liabilities, is that also is that including the things that the state pays for us?
No. Well,
when you talk about pensions, that's paid by somebody else, right?
Correct, but the district has to put it on there. Like if
No, that's not what I'm asking. I know we have to put it on there. That happened several years ago, but the main thing that covers things that are our responsibility paid by somebody else, correct?
Correct, right.
All right.
And that totals about over $9 million.
Okay.
Is what's
That's
on there.
Really nice. We didn't used to have to do that, so it made it look a whole lot better.
Right. If we didn't have to do that right now, you would have a net position of over $8 million.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's misleading. I remember when we went to that, and at the time I thought it was nuts, but we didn't get an opinion on that. But anyway, thank you. Go ahead. I'll shut.
Oh, sure. Oh, no, anytime. But so now we'll just focus on the general fund instead of the government-wide and all the liabilities that you're not really going to pay yourself. But if you look at page 10, and just look at the general fund.
Right.
If everybody's there.
Yes.
But, all right. So if you see under the general fund, you have what's called an unassigned general fund balance, $3,144,899. So that is general fund that's available, that's not tied up right now, is not committed to other purposes. So you have $3,145,000. Now, this is a decrease from prior year of about $193,000. And every year I always point out that I've heard, and you might have heard differently, but I've heard that a good rule of thumb is to have at least 3 months of expenditures covered in your unassigned fund balance. So you have 2.73 months basically of covered. So it's almost 3%. Last year was 2.98. The year before that, it was like 3.2 or something. So that number is creeping down. So even though you could cover almost 3 months worth of expenditures with your position right now, it's decreasing. But again, there's so many things working against school districts right now. But I just wanted to call that number out to you and let you know what that was. So, so that this was on page 10 is the assets and liabilities of just the general fund or the special revenue fund, some of the different funds. The special revenue fund, its assets are down almost $100,000 from the prior year. But again, school wasn't in session. You usually have a lot of accounts receivable in special revenue fund because you've spent money helping students with various programs that the school has implemented, Title I, IDEA, different things. So special revenue fund is down quite a bit because the students weren't in session to receive those services. I just called a couple of those things out to you. So, so the general fund did decrease by about $168,000 from the prior year. And the capital outlay, the seat capital outlay, it was probably the total non-major funds. That's the reason that there's a significant balance in that. And I believe you're probably, there was some funds accumulating in there for different projects. But overall, there's still a decrease in the general fund balance and an increase in some of the others, a few of the others. But let's look at page 12. Page 12 is what we call it the income statement of the district, the governmental funds. The general revenue decreased $87,000 over last year, but the expenses increased by $338,000. So that left for what's called an excess of revenues under expenditures. If you see, like you see the on page 12, you can see total governmental funds, and you see toward the bottom of the page, excess deficiency of revenues over or under expenditures. So it was $57,000 is about what your expenses were more than your revenues. So that's pretty close, considering the year that we had too. So again, I'm pointing out some of these things, but still, you've had you're solvent. You're in a good financial position. But the special revenue fund receipts were down by $135,000. But I mentioned earlier, again, the school wasn't open to have services for children, so you didn't have accounts receivable for reimbursement of those expenditures. But this on page 12 is just the income statement, basically, of general fund, special revenue, instruction fund, and some of the other. You see the total non-major funds. If you want to know what makes that up, you can look on page 66. That's in the back of it. I'll just let you make a note of that in case you want to know what makes that up. We'll look at page 14 and 15 now, talking about food service. Of course, food service is a major program of the district. And it was a completely different year this year for food service. But on page 14 is the balance sheet for food service. Food service and also the other non-major enterprise funds. But we'll just look at food service. You can see that first column. So the total assets in food service was $180,000. But that's an increase over prior year of like $53,000. So the food service net position actually increased for the year. And so that's really a good, I'm thinking, when I look at that, I'm thinking for such a crazy year in food service increase, Miss Chelstrom does a great job. She works very hard, in the food service. Part of this reason why there's such a profit this year and there was a loss last year there was a lot of pension and OPEB, other post-employment expenses that had to be reported. Those expenses aren't as much this year. And then also with school being closed, there were some differences in expenditures for food service. Perhaps there was, less expenses because obviously the children aren't in school. Even though you continue to feed them, it was a little bit of a savings there. So food service did have, if we would call it, we did have a profit. You can kind of see that more on page 15. On page 15, you can see there's income or loss before transfers of $51,245. So even though the lunchroom sales were down, the lunchroom income was down about $70,000, but the operating expenses were down over like $109,000. You see the total operating expenses were $960,000, where last year they were $1,069,000. And then the grants you received were more. So food service did have a net increase in their fund balance, in their net position. So, as part of our audit, we also have to look at internal controls over compliance. There are so many compliance issues that the district has to work with and make sure that you do everything in accordance with laws and regulations. So that's a report we have. There's footnotes on pages 19 through 50 something. And starting on page 75, there's a report that we're required to issue. And basically this report says that we had no findings over compliance on internal control issues or regulations. So again, this is what you want. This is a great great report. There were no issues, no problems. The next report, starting on page 7, has to do with your major programs. This is a single audit. This is a major programs, some federal money that you receive. Of course, food service is your largest program, and so we audited that again as your major program. And again, happy to report there were no problems with food service that affected compliance. or any requirements. So this is another clean opinion relating to food service. And like I said, Ms. Chelstrom does a great job. She works very hard at this, and every year we've been working on this program, looking at it because it is such a big program and it has so many different compliance issues. I've gone through this very quickly. There's the last letter that starts on page 81, and this is things that we observe. We find little things that we just want to bring to your attention, but they do not affect your internal controls. They do not affect any. They're not a finding. They're not any serious issues, but things we just want to bring to your attention. This is where we talk about the school activity funds a lot of the time, and everybody out at the schools, I tell you, do a very good job. I just really want to brag on every one of them. There are a couple little findings, but there's just, for all the requirements that they have, every one of them works so hard to do everything by the book. They have what's called the red book, and they all work very hard. So they're to be congratulated. There's just a few findings, but nothing major, and you can see those there. We have a couple little comments about school activity, the school food service. But those, by the time we got here and was finding them, they had already been addressed. Some things were done to alleviate some of those problems. But you can see those, but there's nothing serious. And I just want to again commend everybody for working so hard and all the cooperation that's given to us when we're here. And I've said this before, there's a good tone at the top. Appreciate the leaders here, in the district, stressing the importance of doing things the correct way. And so, are there any questions? I'd really appreciate the opportunity to present this quickly, but you can take this home, and if you have any questions even later, don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll be glad to discuss anything with you. Any questions?
I'm good.
I guess, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say, I'd like to thank David, his staff, and all the school financial secretaries. They've done, since I've been here, I know it's been going on forever, but since I've been here for 3 years, it's probably the best financial department I've worked with in my 8 years now. They've done a good job, and they do it right, and I really appreciate everybody's hard work.
They do a very good job.
Okay.
Well,
Of course, we weren't in school nearly as much. I guess that's the reason some of the red book things wasn't a lot in there this time, I guess, but which is a plus as far as that goes.
right. But they are trying, they are working very hard too.
Yes. Oh, yes, I think so too. All right. Anyone else have any comments or any questions? If not, Ms. Teresa, we want to thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
That line item will be on the agenda for Thursday to approve the audit. Just wanted to give you an overview of it today. I got some more comments. I got some good news. I want to give a shout out to our very own Tessa Wilkerson. I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of small, but she received a certificate from Governor Andy Beshear. She has been appointed to be a member of the Employment First Council. It is established to help make sure that people with disabilities have an equal opportunity for employment. That is a very special award for Tessa. And if you see her, congratulate her. She's representing McLean County on this task force for the governor. So congratulations, Tessa.
Yes.
we
Proud of
are,
her.
what's that?
I said, very proud of her.
Yes.
She's from our area over in Highland, and she has excellent, wonderful parents.
I will claim her for the whole county.
She's representing McLean County very well.
Yes, she has.
As of last year, if we have to do this every year. We have to have the board that's one of their duties to approve the school calendar. We have to have a board representative. It was Wendell last year, Mr. Miller. If anybody want to take his place, just name. I just needed somebody to give that Mr. Troutman to be a representative on the calendar committee. Just letting you know. Who knows if we start on the calendar we picked, kind of like we had to change it all the time with COVID this year. It may be next year, but we just got to come up with a yearly calendar. One of y'all want to be representing Mr. Miller, you want to still do it? It's up to y'all.
I'm fine doing it. If someone else would like to, that'd be fine too.
I'm good with that, Wendell. That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Wendell.
Thanks,
Ms.
Wendell.
Would you like to do it?
I didn't think anybody was going to jump up and go, woohoo.
I mean, I don't care to, but if Wendell's doing it and he's done it, I say, don't fix it if it's not broke.
All right. I'll give Mr. Miller, I will let, if I think Mr. Troutman's on here, but that you're the rep for the board. Next I'm going to talk about some COVID in our school. Just letting you know that, of course we want to be in person. That's the number one way we could do, but we've only been able to do it for 2 weeks. Every time we come back, we get shut down. But when we came back this last week, our principals got bombarded with a different scenario we did the first time. Parents kept their kids home more. We went up to 25% all virtual compared to, I can't remember, it was a lot lower than that. I don't know, 11, 12, 13%. It was kind of like more kids stayed home virtually than they did in person, which it kind of helped spread out the kids in school a lot more. We have been hit hard in this district. I planned on going in person as long as I could. On Thursday, we lost the whole cafeteria at Calhoun and it spread through the school. I had to shut down Calhoun. Then Friday, bus drivers got hit so hard that we couldn't drive the kids to school. Then we had to spread out enough. We didn't have enough cafeteria people to see them. So, and our teachers started being tested and had to be quarantining and had some positive cases. I always said, if it's not in the schools, we're going, but we didn't have the staff to have schools. I didn't have enough subs. I couldn't drive the buses and I definitely can't cook. So I'm just going to do that. So we've been hit hard and we're continuing to be hit hard. As of today, we still have some more positive cases in our schools. We got people being tested. We got people being quarantined. So we're going to, I look at this every day. This is something I personally post on Facebook, our numbers every day. I'm the one that sends it out. I work with Deanna constantly on her numbers. Bless her heart. She works, I think, 7 days a week, contact tracing. We've had, we communicating this weekend. We had staff quarantine. So it's a daily multi-conversation piece of what our district looks like. Because I always say our number one goal is get our kids back in front of a teacher. But I'm not going to do it when it's going to harm them. Some other things, just give you a kind of a update where we are. Since fall break, here's our totals. We have had 11 students that are positive. And actually, I think we have different numbers. We had 12 student positives. We had one today. 138 students that have been quarantined. And 9 staff have been positive and 21 staff being quarantined. That's just since October, 12th. So it tells you how quick it snowballs into, and not just that. Every one of those, Deanna and the nurses and our new person we hired, Amy Skay, the contact trace. They have to go out and reach out and make all these calls to make sure there's no, until somebody, they may be quarantined or you're a contact of a contact. Health department is packed. They're not helping. We're doing all of our contact tracing, and sometimes we get people that call us and let us know and work with us great. Some people won't tell us who they talk to. They're not working with us. So it's been a real struggle on Deanna and the staff, but I appreciate all of her hard work because she's daily on the phone. I literally have to walk to her office because she's on the phone. Unless she comes to me and gives me the numbers, the post, she's out there working, trying to figure out who has got it or who have they talked to or talking to a principal. So thank you, Deanna, for all your hard work. Just let you know, KHSAA, they're meeting tomorrow, supposed to have some announcements. I don't know what they're going to do. There's talk about moving basketball season. The worry about having indoor sports across the state is big, but who knows what they're going to say. I've kind of quit guessing because they've gone all over the board with some of the things. A lot of people think they're going to push basketball season back to January, to kind of like what they did football, but some says they're going to go ahead and go. Who knows what they're going to do, but I'm going to keep up on that. They're allowing the football playoffs this weekend. It just kind of blows my mind. You know, it's hypocritical. You can't go to school, but you play sports. I know that. It's just part of the stuff that I deal with every day that don't make a bunch of sense. I'm not talking. I just wish everybody would be on the same page and let us know what you want. If you're going to say something and do something else, it's hard on us, you as a board member, me as a superintendent, to try to make a decision for the county where everybody's different. But I will always make this a decision for a kid's safety first, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. While we're not in person, number one, we don't have any teachers to go or staff, but we're hot. Our county is hot with COVID. We had 13 positive cases today, so our numbers are going to keep going up on the incident map. Right now, even our guidelines with sports, if we're red, another county's red, we're playing, unless it's a what's called a seeding district game or a postseason, we're not playing. I mean, that's what third region superintendents, we've been on every week on Thursdays. We've been talking to each other. We're trying to come up with a number out there, because who knows when red's going to go away. But what's a number that says it's safely, because, you know, if we have no quarantines, nobody in school but a nursing home has it. I mean, and our numbers are high, but we have 0 in the schools. The superintendents are going to talk. I mean, they're going to talk back and forth before anybody plays. But right now, as what we've done with our high cases, it's just going to be just like everybody around, unless it's a seeding game or now there's going to be some that will play. I mean, I'll tell you right now, Owensboro Catholic will play every game, everywhere. They'll go to school. They'll do all this. They don't have to follow all the rules. And they don't have our insurance company telling us, you better take some recommendations. So that's number one. The virus is here. We're going to have to live with it for a long time, but we will communicate as superintendents to try to come up with a way to make sure, if allowed and when it's safe, for kids to play. That's the number one thing. It's just, we've had all kinds of kids lose games. We've had from no spring sports, to losing the tournaments and the volleyball. Football's lost 6 weeks of ball games. Who knows when basketball season, and it may go back into spring. So virus is here. It's a daily communication, a daily data looking at and talking to the health officials to move on. So that's the gist of the COVID. And if I sound frustrated, I'm tired of dealing with COVID, as everybody else is. We're ready for it to move on, but it's here for a while. I think for me, I probably have one last thing. You're probably tired of hearing me. I'm going to bring up something that we haven't discussed because COVID has changed it. We had a strategic plan at one time, working pretty good, moving forward with the measures, but COVID kind of stopped us with the 9 weeks in the last year in the spring, and the first 9 weeks were virtual. But we still have to look and try to come up with measures to help our kids. I have our principals today going to give a short little bit of where they are. We're not calling it year 3 strategic plan. I think Jody come up with a name, a strategic plan year 2/3. We're trying to still combine them because we haven't really had a year to work with this. And plus, we had to take some of it off because the state testing was shut down. We don't have a lot of measures to go by, but we still have things we can work on. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, let's go with Calhoun Elementary. Kim, you on here?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, Mr. Burrow, Mr. Miller, and members of the board. In section 1 of our strategic plan, it focuses on student achievement. The first section that I was going to talk about is on kindergarten readiness. We started out the school year 2020-2021 with 38% of our kindergartners ready to start, which was a 10% increase for us out of 34 students from the prior school year. Our MAP testing we completed at the beginning of this school year. We did not have fall data from the prior year for our intermediate to compare. And I was going to look at our first and second grade winter scores for groups of students. Our first grade stayed close to the same as what they were in kindergarten in 2019. Our second grade had decreased by almost 10% in reading and math, above the 50th percentile. That's what I'm comparing it to, above the 50th percentile for the same group of students. So a strategy that we're using for that is we have pulled one of our instructional assistants to do some interventions in small group work and do Google Meets to work with students who are struggling in first and second grade with reading and math skills. Our intermediate grades, we have yet to be able to get our Case 21 fall benchmark in, but we're looking at the questions through the Case 21 item bank. We're using that to guide our instruction, and we're finding that we're having gaps of student knowledge. And so we're addressing that with a strategy of using instruction through small groups and one-on-one Google Meets with students virtually to try to close the gaps that students have gained through being out in the spring and into the fall. In section 2, that's on people. In item A, we looked at the impact survey. That was from the 1920 school year, and that was the first year that we had the impact survey. It resembles the TEL survey. I averaged my scores for all of those. They ranged from, I had some that were 99% positivity rate on staff, leadership, relationships, and some that dropped all the way down to 72% for resources. My overall survey range came out to be, I think, at like 89%. So we chose to focus on educating 3 areas that we could show improvement in. We're educating all students, professional learning, and maximizing our resources. So at Calhoun, those are the 3 areas that we're going to focus on. Another section under people in 2 was employee turnover, and those also decreased for me in year 3 from 2. We only had a turnover of 1 certified employee and 0 classified employees. In section 3 under service, that is under communication with parents. A lot of that, we have our platform for us is Class Dojo, and updating grades in Infinite Campus occur weekly, if not daily. Communication with parents happens a lot more frequent, especially now that we're virtual. We're doing lots of virtual parent meetings, lots of home visits if students aren't submitting work. We're to meet some of our Title I criteria. We're doing virtual family nights. 2 of those are being hosted by parents. A shout out to Sarah Thompson and Sarah Mercer. They're going to do a cookie decorating, baking and decorating night, incorporate math skills, and then a virtual read aloud for reading skills and an art activity. And then under Section 5 in resources, that's focusing on student participation. If students we're seeing are slacking off in their participation, again, we're making those phone calls, setting up parent Google Meets, we're doing home visits, making those connections and messaging through Class Dojo, making sure parents have access to the parent portal through Infinite Campus, and just, again, trying to keep an open conversation with parents. Thank you all.
Good job.
Great job, Kim. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Any questions for Kim while we have her on here? Great job, Kim. Next up is John. I know he was gonna have to use his phone, so is Mr. Farley here from Ray Gatton?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. You want to go ahead and speak on your school?
Certainly. In section 1 under achievement, I had to go back and look at what was going on last year, and then we didn't have there weren't any scores for the test score, so I went back from the prior year, and so our test scores were really high that year, and so what we're focusing on is maintaining that high level of achievement for all the students. Now when I looked at our math scores, it showed that our math and reading had really taken a hit, and I think most of that's due to the COVID and not being in school, so we're concentrating highly on the math and reading. I have to say that my new teachers especially are knocking it, as far as I'm concerned, are knocking it out of the park with virtual instruction. They work really hard, and they do a really good job at it. I think Miss Lindsay would attest to that because she's been there several times to observe them. But, we're working on that. As far as communication with parents, I try to do at least weekly, but a lot of times every other day, even daily announcements that I tape and put on there. I get a lot of good response from that. We use Class Dojo to communicate with the parents, phone calls constantly. I think all of my staff generally will contact every parent at least once a week, some form or fashion. Let's see. I did look at the impact survey from last year and noticed that there were some cultural shifts that had taken place. Like I said, I had 3 staff leave and one classified staff member leave. So that was basically basically a 50% turnover in staff, and so that makes a difference in the culture. But like I said, they hired really good new teachers, and I stole the custodian from the school board, so she does a really good job. In Section 5, I've already done Section 5. We continue with the home visits and the phone.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions for Mr. Farley?
No, thank you a lot, John. That was great.
Thank you.
Is Miss Ellis, Miss Ellison?
I'm on here.
All right. How about Livermore?
We'll start off, I guess, with the achievement. One of the areas that I wanted to focus on was our kindergarten. Last year, kindergarten was a concern for us, and we had put that down as one of our areas to work on. And we had a huge increase. I know we had a large kindergarten last year and a much smaller kindergarten this year, but we had about an 80% ready kindergarten this year, which was surprising. So that was a big thing that we looked at. Our areas, we still feel like math is a big concern across the board. It's not going down, but it's not going up as quick as we would like for it to. So that is an area that we are focused on, and Jan Holbrook is doing a really good job focusing on the math for us with our ESS funds. She's actually still running all those groups that she was running before. They were small groups, and now she's doing them all virtually. So she is picking off all of our 3rd through 5th lower performing math students and has been able to make her groups larger since they're virtual. So that's been a big deal. So I think that will help us there. As far as our people area, the impact survey, we're really pleased with our impact survey this year. I know our climate has been something we had looked at in the past, and it's taken a huge increase. It's up to 91%. So we were really pleased with that. And we didn't have any teacher turnover, so that was a big plus for us. We've not had very much turnover in the last 3 years, if any. The other thing we have, whenever you get to our service areas, we're all on the same platform, so everyone's consistently using Dojo, which that's good that they're all doing the same communication. And home visits are occurring, and I have to I mentioned Natalie. She's done an awesome job with her as her first year with us. And one of the things that she did was a Google questionnaire night that she did online virtually for all the parents who had questions. And she did it to where they could come to the parking lot if they needed to ask questions. So that was a big deal for our parents and helping them understand all the technology going on. As far as anything else, I think our scores are headed in the right direction. We can see the gaps that they lost from where, the time that we've been virtual, and we've got that gap. And so we're building things into that, mainly to do with technology on how we're going to catch them up and continue to move forward with the curriculum they're supposed to be learning. So that's what we're focused on.
Miss Ellis?
Yes.
On your kindergarten class, what's the ratio of girls versus boys?
Well, I think it's about even right now. I don't think we have more than the other. I know that the retentions, we had to change our makeup of our kindergarten this year. We made a kindergarten and a K1. So they're split up differently this year than we've had in the past. So we don't have just 2 straight kindergartners. That's because our first grade was so large last year that we had several first graders that fit into that K1 better than they did a first grade. So that helped hold our numbers down. So I think that kind of balanced our numbers.
Okay. I was just curious. I know sometimes they say girls sometimes don't do as well on math, and you said y'all were struggling on math. So I just kind of taken that, but sounded to me like about even. It's probably doing fine then. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Gary. That was great.
Hey, exact kindergarten numbers, I have them in front of me.
Okay.
It is even. It is 15 male and 15 female.
Ah, that's very unusual.
Good.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Kelly, middle school, I just, are you here? I can't see everybody.
Yes, sir, I am here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'll start with one for student achievement. Of course, with this being my first year here at the middle school, I'm taking in a lot of information. But I will brag on the middle school. For the last 4 years, I've seen that in all areas they have decreased their novice, which has always been a focal point for all schools. So obviously, we will continue to focus on students that are at risk. Our total population there being students, and now that we have students virtually, obviously that can cause some concern, but we are still focusing on that because we want to keep that trend going where we're taking and reducing our novice kids. Since we did not have any K-Prep scores to go on, we did look at the MAPS data, which is the only data that we have versus benchmark assessments. And all of our grades and areas, we were very pleased. We did see an increase on above or average for their fall MAP score, usually somewhere anywhere from 10 to 15% increase on proficient scores. And we know that we did bring them in and actually give them the MAPS test in the building. Part of our math was outside of the building at home. So when we look at that, we're pleased to know that most of those scores are pretty valid because they were actually in front of us taking the test. We also saw a decrease in the novice as well. So in that area, we feel like even though all of the obstacles that we've had, we still feel like we are trending up instead of trending down. So we're real excited about that. To help with targeting some of those students that we feel are at risk, we are having these small groups that come in as well as often as we're allowed. We know that sometimes we couldn't do that because of the high case numbers, but as of now, we're really targeting. I really want to brag on Haley Hudson. She's done a phenomenal job with our special ed kids and really reaching out to parents and getting and mentoring my new special ed teachers here in my building, and showing them, you know, what modifications things look like. So props to Haley. She's done a great job and a great job for me as well. When I look at section 2, which is for people, I took a quick look, or been looking at the impact survey, and one of my major kind of concerns is obviously the school climate and culture. It came in at about 62%, so it was a little bit lower than what I expected. However, there are some positive things about the impact survey as well. Managing student behavior was really high at almost 80%. So we all know that you've got to manage your kids in order to teach them. So that was a good thing. But I think as a school, when I look at this, I feel like we've got some major progress that we need to make in some of these areas. Professional learning, resources, and school climate and feedback and coaching came in at the lowest. So those will be my focus for this school year and obviously moving forward. So I like to take this impact survey and actually speak with the teachers about every single subgroup and talk as a group as how we can improve on those areas, because without their feedback, it's kind of hard to know where to go. So I feel like that's an area that we're going to work on as well. And obviously the other big area is teacher or turnover rate. I think we had somewhere around 20% turnover rate average in the past 3 to 4 years. And of course, 100% turnover rate for administration this year. So we've got, that's something we're working on as well. When I move to services of communication, things like that we're providing, we are trying to use the same exact platform across the board. We do use Google Classroom, Remind 101, social media. With the teenagers and the parents, it seems to be, social media seems to be the biggest one. Emailing overall, obviously for parents, things like that. We are offering all kinds of live Google Meets, conferences, things where people can get on and on. Our teachers are even trying to do live teaching, kind of like the classroom. Of course, people don't log on, they record it. But those right there, being able to keep parents informed is the biggest thing. So I think we have gotten better in that since August, but we're still continuing to try to just keep telling over and over and over. Is there another section? I think that's it.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I would like to say that Kelly came in, and I think I scared her to death when I said, "Hey, do you want to be principal? Because I'm going to place you there," after being assistant principal when Mr. Reese left. But Kelly, you've exceeded my expectations. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work at the middle school. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Nelson at the high school.
Yes, sir, Mr. Burrow and board members. Thank you. We are going to hit the highlights of the stuff that we have changed or are adjusting right now. You know, we had some turnover in the instructors, and then almost 100% turnover, Miss Kelly, in our administration. But those guys have learned a whole lot and are doing a great job now. Also, we adjusted some things in our scheduling. We adjusted some things on how we do stuff. We have the help now. I'll hit the bad parts first. Our gap is our students with disabilities. And we are attacking that with interventions during the school day, as well as virtual interventions. We're starting that in the next week or so. So those students, trying to catch them up and get them back on track. And that was our biggest gap with our MAP scores and our trend data from last year. But we are addressing that. We're fortunate now to have dual credit math. We have dual credit math and English in place. We're working on other areas. We're trying to attack our ACT scores, which did improve, but are still not where we want them to be. We've tacked on requirements for CCR in order to do off-campus opportunities such as OCTC or co-op, and I think that's helped. We've also are getting to work with Jill Howard to improve our CCR, and she's working with those students also. And like I said, we did change quite a few things. We made some adjustments, but the help from Ms. Brackett at the board office and a lot of staff here that have a lot of skills that we use. We are empowering staff members as our experts. I mean, when we have staff meetings now or trainings, we have teachers here that are experts in areas. So they are the ones leading that training. It's not all coming from me. It's not all coming from my assistant principals. The staff members are leading those trainings. We did have a very, very good fall map scores, phenomenal. And it shows how hard those people have been working. We've only got about 26% that aren't on or above where they should be. So we're really proud of that. We also, like I said, the turnover it was there. We continue to educate our parents on edgenuity. Our teachers are reaching out to our parents in a greater effort now than they ever have, and every bit of that is logged into Infinite Campus, so everybody can go see. Well, Johnny's been bombarded with calls. I think he's got it okay. That way we're not doubling up on people all the time, and I think the parents appreciate that. But we're going to keep going forward and work on those things in order to get better. We've changed the schedule in order to have a intervention class for people that have not met college or career ready. So that's working out better, and with English, reading, and math. And so we, like I said, with the help from everybody else and what they have to offer, like I said, I mentioned Ms. Brackett, and then our experts here in the building, we have seen a lot of improvement.
Mr. I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Bumpus.
As far as reaching out from the teachers, are the individual teachers calling, or is it just their advisor, or
a little bit of both? That was one of the things also, Ms. Bumpus. We had mentoring last year, 1 day per week. We have mentoring. We have mentoring every day now. We changed our schedule to have that.
The reason I'm saying that is because as a parent, the only communication I've had is with Miss Eubanks. I've not been approached by any other teacher at all from the high school.
Well, then that probably means that Jay's doing everything he's supposed to be doing because they're communicating with him.
Well, okay. All right.
That's all I can go back and look at Infinite Campus and see. And,
yeah. I thought I put down as a community, and I'm not just saying this from my standpoint.
Right.
But my optimal would be either text message or phone call, but I've gotten that from other parents saying that they're not really getting a lot of communication from the high school.
Okay.
So, I didn't know, is it because Bridget communicates with me pretty much weekly, if not more often than that, but I have not, he's really not doing very well in one particular area. And, I talk to Bridget talks to the other teacher, and that's what I'm getting from other parents as well, that there are certain teachers that are not getting information to them or whatever.
I'll be more than happy to look into that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Mr. Justin, I will say you came in as an interim principal, and you helped us out at a time that we really needed you. and you've done a great job. You made some great hires. We got some good teachers come in right now that are stepping up, and I feel that the high school is moving in a great direction under your leadership. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I think you're doing great, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you.
Thanks from here, Wendell.
Just through all this, we still have a strategic plan. We're still working with it. It's just a crazy time. Everybody knows we need to be back in school because the COVID has brought us back a little bit. Also, we'll go back when we can, when it's safe. We're going to get those kids back in front of the teacher. And I'm the first one. I have a daughter. Just give you an example. I have a daughter. It's in the middle school that when it's time and in person, she's up at 5 o'clock waiting for me at the door, dressed, ready to go to school. I have to throw a bucket of water on her to do it for virtual. So so they want to be in school. I know that. And personally, it's in my house too. So whenever it's safe, I put those kids back in. I'm going to have them in. Just to let you know, we are still allowed to have small groups in our school. We're not stopping that. Only one I stopped right now is Calhoun because they're in kind of a quarantine period from all the cases they had there with the cafeteria, then moved on to the teachers. So we're just trying to protect that staff right now to make sure there's no symptoms. They start back next week with small groups, but everybody else is allowed to have small groups. That's 14-1 in a small group, and you can have up to, what was it? What's the percentage? Somebody help me out of the capacity. Was it 30%?
I think it's 25, isn't it?
25?
Mhm.
Okay, 25% capacity. So they could still get a lot of kids in for no more than 2 hours a day. So I encourage all the principals to use it. Calhoun's going to wait 1 week to make sure everything's all out there, cleaned up and ready to go. Nobody else is catching any symptoms. So, but they're still allowed to work with kids. And I encourage all principals to still work with these kids that need it. Call them, reach out to them, get them in there when we can. Just that part there. We will still use case 21. We have not had an assessment. The strategic plan is about moving kids forward and making them successful, making the school successful. It's all about the kid. If you don't assess them, you don't know where they are.
Mr. Burrow, that was something I had written down, but I felt overlooked. We're continued that also. We've continued it this week with small group instruction, and the ones that get priority are our GAP students.
Great.
We're reaching for them first.
Great. Our case 21 will start in December. While we assess, our goal is, and I've told the principal since the beginning of when we started planning in the summer, we got to catch them up. We got to know where they are to catch them up. Then once we caught them up, we got to move them forward to their standards of that year. So if you don't assess them to where they are, you never know where they are. That's assessment for us in the central office with case 21 and MAP scores is for you. That's your formative assessment to see where they are, to move them forward. Teachers just don't teach and give a test out at the end of the unit, and that's what your grade is, because it don't matter what you do in the middle, it's what you're graded to find. No, you got to find out where they are all the way through. And that's why we assess. That's why we're going to come up with case 21. We didn't get to do it this time because it was going to be too short between November and December. It wouldn't be worth doing 2 back-to-back. So with us having to go virtual, we moved to December as our first one round with case 21. It is one of the best formative ways for teachers to see if they're teaching to the standard. And that's why I like it. And it was the best test we've had that compared the assessment scores to that assessment test we give. So it's across the state being used. I'm happy to say we'll still be using it, and appreciate you all helping with that purchase. But it is one of the best indicators of where we're going to be. So that's all I have on my comments. I know it was long, but I thought we usually do this quarterly, but COVID's messed everything up. I wanted your principals to hear. I want to talk to you to hear where it's going on in schools. Thank you.
Okay, before we move on, I know y'all are going, good God, shut up, Angie. I've gotten 2 texts while I'm sitting here. One of which is, how are we, when kids are quarantined, how is that affecting their absenteeism? Is what
No, they just become virtual for 2 weeks. They're still on the school. Quarantine does not affect them. They're still going to have they're able to work at home. It's the same thing. Virtual and in person is the exact same thing of being attendance wise.
Okay, I get that. So why are kids being considered absent if it's during virtual? If they've got an absence on their
Well, they're supposed to log on between 8 and 3. If they don't, it's not like they can work it on Friday to catch up all.
No. But I mean, if they are, then why can't we?
Mr.
Somebody
Troutman.
answer me. I don't care who, but I've got parents asking me this, so that's why I want to know.
And I talked to some, I believe it was Friday last week. It's just something I've got to go in the system and change. We still have to mark them that they're quarantined, but you are correct. Right now, that attendance code is actually counting them absence when they should not be. So it's just something I have to go in. I will try to get that done, if not today, tomorrow. So again, the attendance code that is put in there is counting them absence, but it's something I can go back, and the 6 or 8 parents that I talked to Friday last week, I will go back in there and change it. So it's not, I go back in and backdate it and everything will be cleared up with that.
Okay, well, I was just wondering, I mean, I didn't come up with a system or anything.
I didn't know about the attendance as far as what was done, but I know, they're not to be counted absent in the quarantine. Because we're going to teach them one way or other. It's just, I guess what Ashley said, it was basically a coded issue.
So
well, my thing is why couldn't they have used a Q, like as in quarantine, instead of an A? It's absent.
Campus has their own codes, and you got to go switch back and forth. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about that part, but you just can't. We can't put a Q, I guess. Isn't that right, Mr. Troutman? It's you have to switch it by hand each time. Is that correct?
Oh, okay. Well, I just know that I had 4 phone calls about that and 1 text just now.
You there?
The state pushed down some attendance code. It's called QCE, which means quarantine because of exposure. The other one's QCP, that means quarantine because they tested positive. When they pushed those down, they asked us to set them up that the attendance code would actually mean be absent. They come back about 2 weeks later, oh, never mind, if you're putting them in virtual, don't do that. So it's just something I have to go in there and change, and I will do that.
Okay, thanks. I'm not trying to be a problem, just trying to answer questions from parents that I've gotten a text. The next issue that I've gotten a text on, and that was just here. I am not a Facebook member, nor do I use social media. Is there any other way to communicate to the one call works, I think, for everybody? Is there not a way that we can be, I mean, I sometimes get 4 phone calls from the high school in a day. It's my understanding that even the schools don't know what you've made as a decision. It just goes on Facebook. So
I share with my principals what I'm going to do. You can ask them. Have I emailed you when I'm going to put them go virtual when I'm not?
Yes, sir. I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking a question because from what I got from a parent, Facebook is not the best. I am not a social media person. So, and I get that. So is there a better way that we can communicate what's going on?
I place every day the numbers, and I couldn't do that on a Facebook. You would get a call every single day. Now, if we go from in person to back to person, Mr. Troutman puts that on 1 call. But I'm not going to call a Facebook and give a, you get 4 calls, I get 2 calls, but just because I'm telling everybody we have 4 quarantined in the I'm not going to do that every day. If they are going to, if we are changing from virtual to in person, or when Calhoun School had to be closed, I will contact each principal and I'll say, please put this out on your Facebook page. Some people don't read the Facebook. but they will put all the principals put it on their dojos, their Facebook. They'll send their information out through their way. So I'll do a one call, and they also do it. So the information's out there every day. Now we're not going to do it till after 4 o'clock. The reason why, when we send a one call during the day, a lot of people do not answer that call.
Right, I get that.
And I'll get a million calls, and the schools will get a million calls. Did you call us? Did you call us? Well, we wait till after hours on the one call. I do post my Facebook information at between 1 and 2 o'clock every day.
Right.
And then I send the information that needs to go to the principals that need to go home to the parents. Any information, they put it on their pages, dojos, they're called. So it's not going to go out every day. Just the numbers are going to go out every day. But anything that's major of a school change, or like we had to go to curbside cafeteria service because we don't have enough bus drivers to deliver food now, that was put on there. There's things we do put out there that they send out on almost all the important stuff we do on one calls, on dojos. I'll let the Miss Foster or Barry or John, what are y'all using to deliver all this information to the parents?
For the middle school, basically exactly what you said. When you let us know, then we do an all call through email, sometimes phone, depending on what the message is. But we do the email for sure. Then we also have every grade level has their own Facebook page. It's posted there. The school has their own Facebook page. And then depending on what it is, sometimes it goes into Google Classroom, but most of the time it's the first formats that I gave you.
The reason I'm saying this is because the one that I got was from a grandparent that is raising kids.
Mm-hmm.
They are not tech savvy. So a phone call is their best way. I don't think they really give a flying flip about the daily numbers, but I think that not everybody's social media,
Right.
you know? And
we do one calls on anything that changes. We do one calls.
But what I was told, and I'm just going by what I got. I called the school, and the school secretary had no idea what was happening the next day. Well, then we've got a breakdown of communication somewhere. So that needs to be fixed because these are major issues, and we've got parents that are having to make last minute decisions on what they're going to do the next day. As far as childcare, am I going to get to work tomorrow? Da, 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 da. And I understand there is no perfect solution. I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying we've got to get a better way of communicating, maybe within ourselves. If everybody's not doing that, like, does everybody in the central office know what's going on tomorrow? Does the secretaries at the school know what's going on tomorrow? Because they're getting phone calls. I mean, I'm getting phone calls. I have no clue. I'm a parent. I don't know. I'm not going to tell them the private communication we get until that goes out. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I'm telling you that when I have a 70-year-old grandparent that's raising kids and has no Facebook means nothing, or, you know, social media, then we've got to get a better way of getting information to them.
I don't know who this grandparent is. Maybe their information on Infinite Campus is not checked one call. That's the thing. The one calls are going out. It depends on if some people don't have their information, the boxes checked where they get the information.
I will check that.
The parents, if they're not getting it, the one calls only go out to the ones that are got the information, get it. So that parent needs, or grandparent needs a call to make sure all their information is checked. But we are doing one calls.
Okay. All right. I'm not, don't think that I'm getting mad. I'm just addressing stuff that I'm getting here. And this is the last thing, and I think that I'm not the only board member that got this. And so I want to address this. This was from a teacher, and I know it was. I got 3 anonymous letters in the mail last week.
Amen.
And I don't know if anybody else got those. I know Miss Joyce did, and I did.
And I did.
Number one, you did?
Yes.
I brought mine down here and turned it over to our superintendent.
Well, this is my thing, and I want to put that out there. Number one, I don't appreciate anonymous anything.
Amen.
If you need to talk to me, I think you can tell right now that I am very open and you can listen. I can listen to you. Number two, I don't understand about the testing in the county. I leave that to the educators. That's what you all are hired to do. And I understand we have a standard. But if we really did test the very first day we went back from virtual, then I have a problem with that.
I think the test was the maps probably, and that's just a guide to give them the reference to go with. It wasn't actually a test that was going to count on our grade. Am I right, Mr. Burrow?
Well,
No, I don't think it counted toward grades. I don't think that was
no,
the issue.
here's the thing with this. All schools had the chance to test anytime they want to in the small groups.
Okay.
There was only one school chose to do it when they came back because the principal said the teachers chose to do it when they came back.
Okay.
The rest of them didn't test it, map testing, when they came back. There was only one school.
Okay, then I'm fine with that. I just wanted it out there because I thought the majority of the people was on here and that the principals could put that there. I'm open to anybody that wants to call me day or night, and I take several phone calls a week. I don't care where you're from, but please don't ever send me anything else anonymous again.
Thank you, Mr. Bumpus. But the thing is, we also know where this came from, what school, because only one school, only the principal and I have shared that. She shared that with their staff and everything else. We have kind of handled that behind the scenes.
I'm sorry. I didn't know because I got the letter. So and I appreciate any contact. I am up for that any day, but I am not somebody, I'm very open book. If you want to talk to me, you call me, but don't do it anonymous.
Well, Angie, I didn't appreciate it. This is Miss Joyce, and I immediately came down here and gave it to Mr. Burrows. We are not responsible for these parents. We're responsible for our students.
Exactly. And, if there's an issue, I'm glad to talk to anybody, but it's not up to me to decide when we test and what we test. That's what you all do. That's what you're paid to do. I'm a nurse. You all are educators. But I just wanted to put that out there, and I didn't know if this was the time or the place, but I thought everybody was on there, and now was the time to let you know. I'm done. I promise.
No, that's fine, Miss Angie. We got to get these things out. All right. I think the next item is still, Mr. Burrell. It's consider approval of October 22nd, 2020 special call board meeting minutes.
I recommend we approve the minutes when y'all are ready to go through it.
See, you will need time to look over it.
I looked over them when we got in here. I'm good.
All right. All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. Oh, okay. Sorry. He's got to recommend, doesn't he?
He did.
I recommended it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He recommended right off the bat.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Miss Bumpus, you seconded it, didn't you?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Howard, did you do a second motion? You want to make a second on that?
Yes, be fine.
All right, thank you. If there's no other discussion, I'll signify by saying yes.
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 No. All right, that passes. And next is discussion of our board meeting for Thursday night. Mr. Burrow, I think that goes back to you again, won't it?
Sure. This is the construction item. We're paying our architects, getting ready to drive on our HVACers, getting things ready to go with the bidding process. And Mr. Troutman, you're on here. Do you have any other things about this payment?
No, it's stuff that is done previously. It's the construction documents, and those documents are complete. So it's for them to be able to go on and get paid for completion of construction documents.
Thank you.
All right. Have any, Mr. Burrow? No, go ahead. Are you?
Any questions on that? Basically, just getting ready for our HVAC. Hopefully, we can get that done this summer on county.
Have we had any correspondence in relationship to? Are they going to be able to get the things they need to do the project? Because that was one of the issues we ran into last year. Is the virus put them off enough that they're now capable of doing the the construction project, Tommy? Do you know?
Mr. Chapman, you've had more conversation with.
Yeah, I've talked to our architect, Mr. Riggs, and yes, we are at a point. Certainly, when we bid this project out in December, all three major companies that will be bidding as far as equipment have said that they would give them ample. If their company wins the bid, they know in December they will be able to produce the equipment we needed 1st of May.
All right. My only concern is what happens if the government comes in the next 2 months and shuts us down again, which is what I'm afraid of. We'll be back. We may be back in the same darn boat.
Yep.
Sorry that I just wondered if you didn't know anything. That's good. Thank you.
And Mr. Riggs, that always a possibility.
Yeah. The new group is going to have different ideas how to do things, and my fear is we'll be all shut down again.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what we got to do.
Any other questions on the?
Are we going to meet again Thursday at noon, Ms.
Yes.
Sutton?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Burrow, then I think consider approval of advertising and soliciting. You want to speak about that a little?
John B. Browning Young is one of our biggest scholarships and basically one of the biggest in the state. It's very helpful to many of our kids over the years. BB&T used to be a trustee. We used to go through. They got bought out. The people we've been working with over the years on the trust, on the scholarship, is no longer working for them. So we partner with, we get a third, Owensboro, and I think Whitesville get a third, and Davis County and Catholic get a third of all this money, big pot of money. We all work together as the entities, and I'm going to have Mr. Quisenberry, because this has got to take the attorneys and everything else. We want to open it up where somebody, instead of North Carolina or Arizona, wherever this new place has come from, we want a local person. We want to put something out there. I'm going to bring to you basically a resolution to board approve a motion to put RFPs, recommend for proposals. Just let's see what's out there and see if we can save money on our fees and give back more to the kids. So this is something we're all on Thursday going to do at one time. Each board member has the same motion to read, recommendation that I will read to you. Then you all will approve it. It'll be on an action item. I'm actually going to move this one Thursday from consent to an action because it needs to be an action item, not a consent, because I need to read it to y'all to make that decision. So that one will be moved on Thursday to an action item. You heard Miss Teresa today talk about the audit. You'll approve the audit, and also Miss Lindsay, you got 3 FMLA people. You want to talk about that, or just the normal?
No, they're just normal FMLA requests.
Mike's messing up there. Fundraisers, do you have a list? I went through them. The things on there is something that's not going to be COVID related, where it's going to mess things up. Jason Bowman, hit first offer of assistance.
Every year we have to turn in a report to the state, and you all approve that. I have already approved that report, and based on that report, they offer us an offer of assistance. We received our first offer of assistance, and it's $10,072, and we always escrow our offers of assistance for 3 years. So we're asking for approval to escrow the $10,072 for 3 years.
All right.
I know you probably won't have a problem with this, but we received a $500 check in the mail yesterday from Walmart Community Grant. Also, We won $1,000 worth of school supplies from Walmart on a grant. And so basically, I'm just seeing if you're okay to approve a Walmart community grant for us to get this information back to our kids. So it'll be on there Thursday. So just let you know that. And when I say a lot of stuff, I'm saying a lot of stuff. I'm not so sure it was not more than $1,000 worth of supplies. It took up a whole van. So
That's good.
Good.
That's all because consent agenda. Then you'll have the bills. We'll go over that. If you have any questions on the bills before Thursday, let me know. They will go to treasury report and the rest of the normal ending statements.
All right. Anyone have any other comments or any questions?
Nope.
Yeah, sure do.
Okay.
I guess I'm kind of disappointed. I love football, and you all know me. I sure do. But we zapped the soccer team from their playoffs, and we did that to volleyball, and now we decided to let football go, and we can't have school. So I am just kind of disappointed. Just wanted to let everybody know.
Agreed. We
Very
can't pick and choose which sport.
Very simple that we can make a decision right now. I don't have a issue one way or the other. I'm just going with what KHSW let me do.
Okay. That was the guidelines they gave you
Guidelines are given.
because of our being red.
I'm hoping, and more guidelines will be tomorrow. Yes, the guidelines were red. They pretty much threw the red out on playoffs.
For everybody?
And here's the big part of this, and I'm pretty mad about the KHSAA, is they were supposed to play last week, and they let two big teams, Mel and I don't know, St. X or somebody, I can't remember which one it was. They were in quarantine, so they pushed the whole season back 1 week so they could get in it. So I mean, there's not a. I guess there's nothing to go by. They change their mind every single week.
Well, I'm like John. We can't pick and choose which kids get. You know, if volleyball and soccer made it very. I mean, further than they have in 8 years and wasn't able to play in their playoffs. I don't think it's fair for us to say, well, boys, y'all just go on out there and give it all you got. I mean, it's like we're picking and choosing, and I don't think that's fair.
I'm willing to put up there with y'all right now. I mean, I'm with y'all. Whatever you want to do, I will do.
I mean, I don't want to take a season away from anybody, but we took it away from the girls, and they were further than they've ever been in 8 years. And they were, they weren't allowed to go to playoffs. So why is football any different?
Okay, we could do this on Thursday's agenda on action item. We could put on deciding a board vote because basically districts have done this. They have put it on there. I know Henderson County last night they voted to shut down all winter sports, but they allowed the football to go to playoffs. And so I mean, like I said, they made that decision. So I will be willing to put that on Thursdays. That way, the board can have a voice in this decision. I have or if your wishes are me to shut it down right now, I'll shut it down.
I mean, I think we could vote on it, but and it's not that I want to take away. I mean, I think Coach Wagner has done an amazing job, and I think our boys have worked really, really hard, but they didn't work any harder than our soccer team or our volleyball team. And I don't want to say, well, because they lost it, but we're in the red, just like we were then. So why is it any different? I don't get it.
More than happy to do what the board wills.
I say we put it on the agenda for Thursday night.
I will put that on agenda. I will make it fall sports and winter sports because basically we'll have to make decisions on all of them.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
are we done? I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right. Don't think that'll be all. Or yes.
Yep. Alrighty. Hear a motion to adjourn.
I thought she did.
I did.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right. Miss Angie, motion second.
I'll second Miss Sutton.
All right, Miss Sutton, thank you. All in favor, say yes.
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 All righty. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.